Now I'm going to put on the picture part of the show as I begin the Las Vegas story, so get ready. Now let me bring you back to why it all goes back to even the embassy moving in Israel, why Las Vegas happened, what's important about it, and the reason that we're here today and why it's not being discussed. When the Las Vegas massacre occurred, there were 33,000 people in the vicinity of the cell towers. Of those, 28,000 people had smartphones. Of those smartphones today, you have seen less than 10 things posted that made a difference, if any at all, in the narrative of the investigation. In May of 2017, our great President Trump made a visit to Saudi Arabia. During that visit, a soft coup was put into place with the help of Jared Kushner. President Trump assigned Jared Kushner to make sure a transition of power took place in Saudi Arabia. And in exchange for that, the Saudi Arabians would fund Israel $8 to $20 billion, give or take, to go after Iran and protect themselves, to destroy Hezbollah and Hamas. This is a very big deal because the Saudi Arabians owe the United States trillions of dollars for protection. This gives us full understanding and support of the Straits of Hormuz to move the oil. We have surrounded Iran completely, and we have Russia on board. Do you remember how warmly President Trump was greeted when he went to Saudi Arabia by King Salman? President Obama's reception was disgusting. They didn't honor him and could give a shit that he showed up there. Saudi Arabia started becoming more open to liberal or different policies, allowing their women to do certain things. Drive. That's what they told their women, that you cannot drive because your ovaries would be damaged. Did you notice how the Syrian rebellion became quiet at that time? Did you notice how quickly from May 17 to now that we have destroyed 95% of ISIS? Did you notice that we started bombing the mosques? Did you notice all these things changed after that visit? Because it was put into action. Why do you think Saudi Arabia suddenly wanted to get their oil companies listed on the New York Stock Exchange? Why? It all goes back to fracking. Back in 2010, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has always relied heavily on its vast oil and petrol reserves for wealth and prosperity, aka OPEC. And they were ruthless. The cartel of gasoline. You can count the number of times through history that OPEC used its power to crush multiple governments worldwide. They manipulate prices, control supply, and fund activities. Then came the fracking boom in Oklahoma, the fracking boom in Ohio, and suddenly the world was no longer at the mercy of OPEC. So they did what they always do. They pumped out a ton more petroleum, driving the price to the lowest in decades. What was their objective? To bankrupt these fracking businesses. They wanted them all to go down. But they figured they'll just drive the gasoline prices all the way low and the fracking business would just disappear. Well, do you remember between 2013 and 2016 how cheap gas was? But what they didn't count on was how cheap fracking had become. The technology on fracking became so cheap that they couldn't keep up. So many of the businesses they thought would go bankrupt didn't go bankrupt. They tried to convince the world that fracking was bad. Hollywood jumps in. Everyone remember Hollywood doing the commercials? Remember Matt Damon doing the commercial of turning on the water faucet and the water faucet catching on fire? Anyone remember that fake video that went around YouTube and everyone said, oh, fracking's dangerous, it's the devil? Now you understand why the Saudis donated so much money to the Clinton campaign. But that didn't work either, did it? We had enough shale supply for at least 50 to 75 years. So if you're King Salman, there's only one thing you can do. You give up reliance on oil production and try to use existing wealth to stay wealthy. They are starting to turn into a capitalist society. They are investing, they are building, they're building the largest malls in the world, they're building the largest businesses in the world, they're manufacturing things they never did before. They would need to build an entire industrial country from scratch. And to do that, they needed the help of one person, President and at the time, businessman Trump. He is the only person that can provide the smarts necessary to rebuild a nation. And this is where President Trump comes in. In May of 2017, President Trump met with King Salman and his son Mohammed. It was a business meeting. King Salman asked President Trump for help. Trump was more than willing to give it, just like they wanted to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange. But this help would come at a price, and here's the price. Liberalization and to stop the illegal funding. No more contributions to American politics ever. They had to stop immediately to get this deal. That means none of the money that went to Hillary Clinton or the Democratic Party could ever see another dollar again. No more supplying funds to terrorists or splinter groups. King Salman agreed to this deal. All of a sudden, women were allowed to drive. ISIS started retreating and being decimated. Syrian rebels suddenly ran out of ammunition. And it was all good up to this point. Not all the royalties, meaning the different families within the main family, are into this deal. They don't like losing the power they once had. What's worse, they don't want to become liberal. They now start resenting King Salman. They start plotting against King Salman. At the forefront of this movement is none other than previous Deputy Crown Prince Mugrin, M-U-G-R-I-N, and his son Mansour, the man killed in the helicopter crash on November 5th, 2017. And you're all wondering, why? Well, this is the reason why. On October 1st, 2017, the top floors of the Mandalay Bay is not owned by Mandalay Bay. The top 4 floors of the Mandalay Bay Hotel are owned by the Four Seasons Hotel, and it's owned by billionaire Talal, who was occupying the whole floor that night. That means like 30 different people or rooms. No one would know this unless they were Saudi royalty, is Crown Prince Mohammed. We know it wasn't King Salman that was there because he was in Russia at the time. The plan is to take out the Crown Prince, then kill King Salman. With the king and the crown prince dead, who is next in line? The former deputy crown prince, Mugrin, the son of Talal. So posing as terrorists who wanted to buy guns for some terrorist attack, they duped the CIA and the FBI to supply the guns to the death squad. The real plan is to climb the stairs right after the deal, kill a very important person on the top floor, and then leave. This is why the weapons cache was located on the 32nd floor. They would only have to climb a few sets of stairs to take the elevator to start the killing. Now here's what really happened that night. Paddock is the contact man and works for the federal government to supply the guns. He meets a couple of the assassins ahead of time. Remember, the shooting starts at 10:05 p.m. At this point, Paddock is thinking that this is a gun deal and that's all he knows. Only a few magazines are loaded, as you clearly saw in the photos. He merely wants to show the customers how to load the chamber, etc., nothing more. What he doesn't know is that the advance team was sent to secure the floor. That all but one entry point to the floor would be barricaded. This is crucial, since the reason Campos becomes suspicious of the blocked doors is what ultimately leads to the investigation. The reason for the barricade is that once the assault starts, the assassins want to make sure to impede the authorities as much as possible from reaching the top floors. The CIA and the FBI got wind of the assassination that was about to take place. Immediate action is taken to round up the assassins. Remember, I believe President Trump was contacted at this time. Remember, we're talking about any army of assassins here, at least 30. You can't kill the Crown Prince who's protected by 30 armed bodyguards that were all staying on the same floor. The cameras show 20 to 30 assassins. What the assassins didn't know is that the Crown Prince had disguised himself as a regular guy that night in Las Vegas. This person had slipped away from the Mandalay Bay, aka the Four Seasons, and went to the Tropicana to play cards. It's on video. As soon as the FBI learned of the assassination plot, they stormed the Tropicana and extracted the prince. They led him out to the casino and escorted him to the nearest helipad to be picked up, but on the way out they encountered some resistance for a few assassins, hence the shooting at the Tropicana. As was clearly reported, the shooting at the Tropicana. While that was going on, there was a firefight at the airport. I played for you the airport traffic controller saying, "You may not land. We have gunmen on the tarmac and shooting is taking place." Eventually, he makes his way to the chopper and is whisked away. That explains the flight radar reports that I played for you live on my show. Meanwhile, the FBI gathered up as many of the assassins as they could, hence the multiple helicopters leaving and what you saw. They did not have any rifles yet because the rendezvous with Paddock has not occurred. This is all before 10:05. Hence the random firefights that you heard on radar and on police scanner at various casinos. A few of them were killed, hence the Laura Loomer video that I posted showing dead people on the floor of the hotel lobby. Alright? The assassins already in Paddock's room get a phone call. They are told the prince is not in his suite above, that he's being escorted out of the Tropicana. They start to panic. If they get caught in this plot and assassinating the crown prince, not only are they dead, but their employer is dead as well. They come up with this plan. They will kill Paddock and start firing on the crowd below. As you know, Paddock had 2 kill shots on himself. Apparently he committed suicide twice, which did not happen at all. They're going to make him the crazy lone gunman. So they kill Paddock, break the window, pick up a rifle, and start firing on the crowd below. After a couple of magazines, they realize that the other magazines aren't loaded. They're not loaded because it was just a demonstration. They were not loaded at all. They start reloading as fast as possible. Hence, in my video, you clearly saw 40 seconds before they were reloaded. You heard major pauses in the shooting, and all of you made comments about the pauses in the shooting. One of them gets an idea. I'm going to go to the other room, I'm going to break the other window, and I'm going to start shooting at the fuel tanks to try to cause a diversion near the airport and blow it up. This will draw the police away, giving us a chance to escape the Four Seasons Mandalay Bay. So he breaks the window, starts shooting at the tanks. By this time, Jesus Campos comes knocking at the door. So they just turn and start unloading on him. But with all the barricading up, he was barely shot. This is why there's over 200 shots through the door that were shown on camera. Campos escapes a lethal shot and calls in security. One turns the gun on himself and says he doesn't want to kill himself, but before SWAT enters the door, he shoots himself. The second one says he wants to find another way out, pauses for a little bit, ends up killing himself as well. The SWAT team bursts into the room. They find 3 bodies, Paddock's body and the 2 assassins. Because the FBI is already there, remember they extracted the prince already, they quickly assess the situation, realize the implications, remove the 2 assassins' body, take a picture of Paddock lying there, and release it to 4chan to solidify their narrative. The goal was to make Paddock the patsy. Why? Because if the failed Saudi assassination attempt was responsible for the deaths, the FBI, the CIA had supplied the guns that killed 58 innocent people, not counting Paddock since he's an asset. Then 2 things would happen. 1, we would demand that we go to war with Saudi Arabia, and 2, whichever organization, the FBI or the CIA, which Paddock worked for, would be utterly dismantled. I know that's a huge story, but that's the story. We now know, right after that, a missile was intercepted by Saudi military on November 3rd or 4th. That was the final effort to kill the King Salman group. That was the last-ditch effort to put them away and round everyone up to take over. We know that massive raids and rounding up Saudi princes took place on November 5th. I will guarantee you that these people are anti-Salman and Mohammed people. And who was just killed? Yep, the son of Mugrin. Mansour was killed. Mansour's death was retaliation. I have no doubt about it. Mansour's death was retaliation. That to pay us back, that the Saudis in exchange would fund Israel to have a target on Iran, Hamas, and Hezbollah on our behalf. We purchased that. We now own the narrative of everything that goes on. And that, my friends, is what makes everything I just said come together. This goes all back to Israel. We now own the Saudi Peninsula. We are now surrounded of Iran. They have done everything we've asked, and now they're under our control for the money they owe us.